Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Carlton People. On today's show, on today's episode, I have Nicholas Bsoumai. Nick, hello, mate.
Hi, Terry. How are you?
Very well, my friend. Very well. It's great to meet you. As
You
close
too?
to a meeting as we're going to get.
Yep.
Looking forward to chatting with you and understanding a little bit about your Carlton story, mate. Give me some background. Where you're from? What's your situation?
So, born and raised in Melbourne. Born in the old Mercy Hospital on the cusp of Carlton and East Melbourne, actually. So, it was almost meant to be. But yeah, been living now in Mentone for the last 5 years. But with my Carlton story, it's not really like a lot of others. I didn't grow up into a football family at all. No cousins followed it. Parents certainly didn't follow it. And footy found its way onto the TV probably by around 93-ish, 94. And it started, turning up on the TV a lot more often. My older brother and I would get caught up into it. And then the footy cards craze with primary school started, where you'd buy the sandwich bread just to collect one card from that pack. And we move into season 95, and I was 8 at the time in early 95. So I'm an 86, born in 86. I was 8 at the time, and it started to become the time of which team do I pick? And there was something about the jumper. The jumper caught me first. Just that dark. As a kid, I almost thought it was black, to be completely honest. It was like really dark. And my first memories is just Kernahan's mullet, Silvani's and Christou's long sleeves. And I was like, this team, and they were winning most weeks, of course. Early 95, we won the first 7 games of that season, had a bit of a hiccup there. And the other second factor that really got the decision over the line was my Lebanese background. Mil Hanna was the only Lebanese player in the AFL at the time. Obviously, he played for us, and that was the winning ticket. My older brother and I, pretty much from that point, or me at least from that point, early to mid 95, picked them. And it was good timing to pick them, obviously. I remember the grand final very, very, very well, like it was yesterday, actually.
Wow.
Sitting in front of the old big block TV in the same house my parents still live in now, actually. And watching that grand final, and well, it was over early, and just being really happy. But it meant a little bit to me. Obviously, it would mean a lot differently now. But yeah, and then I'd say after that flag, 96 is where it really kicked off, listening to every game. Back then, Channel 7 only had a couple of games live per week, so it was radio. My brother and I would sit there with the radio on, 3AW. Rex Hunt used to commentate back then, and it was just listening to our full game, all 4 quarters. So, yeah, that's how the Carlton journey starts.
I've spoken to a few people who grew up in an era where that was the case with radio if the game wasn't on TV. And I can't help but wonder if that sparks that, I don't know, it's a totally different experience now. If you want to watch any game in 2020, you can watch it. You find a way. There's always you pay for a subscription and it's there.
Yep.
But I can't help but feel like it just sparks a creativity within you where you have to sit there, listen and visualize what they're saying.
Yeah. Learning what they meant by wing and forward 50, and you kind of visualize it in your head, and it's like, all right, well, I've seen this on TV, so I kind of have an idea of where they are on the ground right now. And only 9 or 10 at the time. So it's like, yeah, you pick it up pretty quick, actually. It's surprising. You pick it up pretty quick. So,
yeah. So I love the infusion of culture in there with the Lebanese background, and all the moving parts seem to be the perfect storm. The
Yep.
winning, the emblem, the color, and then Mil Hanna just to put the icing on top. So what's your first memory? Like first game, Any particular moment in there? How far back does your memory go?
My very first memory would have to be when I think Carlton, and when my brain first realised Carlton, was picturing Silvani Kernahan running around Hannah in that 95 jumper, or
Yeah,
even that 94 jumper when we were still sponsored by, I think, Carlton Draft at the time, before Hyundai kicked in 95. So that memory, seeing the cards, the Carlton players on the cards,
yeah,
that's late 94, early 95. When I think, what did my brain think of Carlton? That's what comes up into the memory. My first game was actually years later, 99 season at Optus Oval against St Kilda. A cousin
yeah.
took my brothers and I to the game, and that was my first live experience in 99. Yep, which ended up being a decent year as well for
And
other reasons.
were you at the prelim?
No, radio the whole way through. Channel 7 replayed games about 2 hours later back then, even for prelims. I couldn't believe it. So it was
Really?
2 hours delayed. So it was a 2:10 start, and by around maybe 3:50, Channel 7 would show the game. So yeah, my brother and I sitting there with the radio thinking, how good is this? We got off to a 6-goal-to-3 start, I think. And I'm like, nah, this can't be happening. And the next 2 quarters, I was like, yeah, fair enough. Essendon's going to steamroll us. 3-quarter time, they lead by a couple of goals. And it's like, oh, we tried. And then the last quarter happened in the last quarter. And I love giving it to Essendon people about that game still, 21 years on.
Yeah, for sure. You know, I there's something to be said for me personally when I speak to someone who remembers Sticks and pretty much that mid-90s team, because I mean I was born in 91.
Yep.
My memory kicks in. I don't really remember 99. I've got to be honest. I don't really remember it. My memory completely and fully kicks in sort of. I remember being a fan. I remember salary cap issues happened and I wasn't so engulfed in it, but I still went for them. And then 2005 happens with Murphy and then
Yep.
Gibbs. So that's where it all kicks in for me, and I'm just fully fledged then. So when I hear you say, you know, I grew up and I remember Sticks and Sauce, and like I just try and imagine what it would be like week to week to watch, like, because at the time they were considered the best players in the league.
Yep.
Some of, if not the best players in the league. Whereas you fast forward now to 2020, and we've got Cripps, who's one of the best in the league, and it's kind of like we're building these, you know, hopefully these future champions. So when you look at what you've experienced in the 90s, which you can remember, and when you look at what we're building now in 2020, what's your experience like?
I can definitely see something building now, and it brings. I was saying this to my older brother, who's obviously big on Carlton as well. The nervous feeling before games is well and truly back. It disappeared for years.
Yeah?
It disappeared for years, man. It would be a case of we'd text each other before the game. A loss under 65 would be all right today, we'd say. And and I'm talking 2018 mainly, but yeah, look, with where we are now, I am excited again, and I am really nervous before games again, like heart pounding, even before the West Coast game, where I thought, to be honest, we had no chance coming into it. I just wanted a good performance. Nervous as hell, and obviously for the first 2.5 quarters, we played really well. But yeah, seeing what I remember from when and why I first got into this team, it never changed when we got bad. Don't get me wrong. 02 comes around and I was a bit confused. I'm like, all right, these guys are pretty old now, but what's going on? Why have we only won 3 games?
Yeah.
And 03 kicks around. Pagan comes in. 04, a little bit better, 10 wins, a little bit of hope, and then it just evaporated again into 05. But I've seen a little bit of your story with how you are a big supporter of Murphy, and so am I. I've always backed him to the hills. Anytime anyone's ever said, get in the contest, Murph, you're soft, I've always backed him up. You know, he's been crunched how many times. So I remember the Murphy trade as well. I had his wallpaper up on my old Nokia back then when colour screens first came in. For about a year, I had Murphy wallpaper of him. He was still in his first year back then, and there was something in him I could see. So I've ridden that journey with Murphy, Gibbs, Cruiser, and then Judd, and the Ratton years, I call them, where we got pretty good, and then it fell away again. So I became a member joined up late 2006. So the 2007 season was my first actual season as a member, reserved seat, still going now. And I'm proud the fact that it's been continuous the whole way through. No gaps, no breaks, no cancellations. And I've seen a lot of hurt, been through a lot of hurt. So experiencing all of that and seeing those games where we're 77-7 down against Fremantle at halftime, and Eddie had a couple of years ago, and knowing where we are now, still improvement to come, of course, but where I feel like we can get, it'll mean a lot when we break that duck. Yeah.
There's almost, I don't know if you call them two generations now, because there's sort of, I don't know how long you define a generation. So there's obviously like people, like for me, I've experienced what I've experienced, and I speak to, the kids who are sort of turning 18 now, coming up now, and they're sort of experiencing the same thing. And I find, for me personally, I find more of a connection to the younger generation than what I do the generation before me, because just the way they talk about footy, the way they have experienced footy is so different to me. Whereas with the younger generation, it's, well, they've only known wooden spoons and draft picks, and that's really all I've known. Whereas my family members, my older friends, people in the Carlton community who come from, the Sticks days, the Sauce days before then, Kenny Hunter and the premierships, and where we are Carlton, the arrogance, like I'm slowly drifting away from that as time goes on. And I can't wait for that time, that whenever it's going to be, when that next flag comes, because I really believe there's going to be a unification of the fans who have come from success and have seen this non-successful period, and then those who have seen no success and they enter this period of, we're the best again. And I really look forward to it. And it seems so far away. I mean, we've still got to go through trials and tribulations, and we've got to get to the finals, and then you've got to win a final, and then you've got to probably lose a prelim, and then you've got to get over the hump. There's so many steps to go. But I think, given what's happened with the club and the rebuild, and then when you also talk about this year, the pandemic and everything's been taken away and you can't go to games, mate, I get goosebumps thinking about what it's going to be like when we do get there again. Yep. Do you think about that?
I do. I think about, well, first of all, making the finals. It's been since the 2013 year, which is my favourite final, the elimination, for obvious reasons, with the win over Richmond. And I was there, 95,000, that atmosphere, far and beyond better than any atmosphere I've ever been to. And I've been to some Carlton Collingwood games that have had 90,000 plus as well over the years, for Vola's years where he kicked 7 and 8 against a milli every time. But that game was something else. But I think now I don't want to sound arrogant or anything, but we have improved unbelievably in the last 18 months since the 2-20 season, well, the 2-win 20 loss season, sorry. And then the 1-11 or 1-10 start under Bolton last year. So we've come a long way, and there's still a long, long way to go. But I can still feel this year is possible, and I feel like we've got players that might be nervous in their first final, but damn well we've got players like Cripper that are built for finals. So I feel like if we get there, maybe likely an elimination final if we finish between, the 5 and 8 to kick it off. I feel like we can win that game and then just go from there. And I use Doggies 2016 as inspiration in my own mind. Look what they did from 7th. All you've got to do is put together 4 really good games. So yeah, I can see it's kind of around the corner, but I dream.
Who are your I guess I can call them your new heroes? So who are some of the guys now sort of in this new crop now? Because we've started again in 2015, we started the rebuild. So do you have any particular guys in this group who you just, they're your boys, like your Murphys, for example, who you've seen from day one?
Murphy still from day one, absolutely. Yep. That's never changed I really hope he gets the 300 mark, which I know is close. I'd hate to see him have to retire or be forced out before he reaches 300. Cade Simpson, always been my favourite. Probably, well, not always. He probably from '06 onwards, Simpson, and then he grew on me. The beard years, that's where he really started to play unbelievably well. His consistency, how many games he's played. I'm very nostalgic. I love the fact he's on 335 now, I think, and he's only got two ahead of him, Bradley and Dool. So, but the new crop, well, obviously, I have huge respect for Doherty. I've done my ACL before. It was probably one of the darkest times of my life. I don't even want to begin to imagine what he's gone through, two back-to-back ones where he didn't even get to squeeze a game in between.
Yeah.
And Cripper, of course. Cripper and Doc are my current new boys, if you want to call them that. They've been in since around 2015 onwards. But Murphy and Simpson will always be. It'll be sad for me when they both retire at whatever stages they retire. So, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely have I love Simo, but for some reason Murph was something else. And you're right. People forget for me, he represented the new era, going into the new era after salary cap and 2002, 2003, 2004. It was a basket case, and he was a sort of a symbol of the new era and the new age. And he was young, and he was number one draft pick, and then he started performing on that expectation, and then 2011 happens, and he just goes into that stratosphere. And yeah, you're right. People forget so quickly, and they're quick to talk about how he's not physical in the contest, and they're quick to forget. I mean, I'm just thinking off the top of my head. I should write this down, but there's the Dangerfield initial big one. Luke Hodge with the cheekbone. The broken scapula against Melbourne where he goes in for a tackle. A couple of syndesmosis injuries. He's not able to physically impose himself because it's not his game. He can't do it anymore.
Physically can't.
And there's sort of, I find myself going from one end to the other where I say, okay, well, he's at this point in his career now where he might not be as prolific as what he was in 2011 in terms of winning the ball and those things. And he maybe needs to try and add something else. And I find myself trying to keep remembering, well, yeah, he's been through the wars. He's put his body on the line for this footy club. And it's amazing. I don't know why we forget. I don't know what it is, but we do.
Yeah, I certainly don't, but no, I know a lot of fans do. He's soft. I've always tried to back him. To be completely honest, to slightly change the subject onto Bryce Gibbs, used to cop the same stuff, and he was a little bit, but I backed Gibbs to the hill as well. He was bloody good for us for a while. So I backed those boys, like no tomorrow. But yeah, Murphy, still back him to today. He's got those sneaky goals in him, like the one against Fremantle last year. Something similar this weekend would be nice. But
I know.
He's just still so skillful. All right, he cops it up every now and then. I remember one in particular just a fortnight ago against Hawthorn where they were really starting to steamroll us. But it is what it is. That happens. So, yeah, I'll back him.
Yeah. A few more questions before I let you go. Out of the sort of the kids that you're watching now, so the ones that are even younger than Cripps, Doherty, even sort of Sam Walsh's age and before, are there any of those who you think, there's something there for the future?
Walshy, 100%. Yeah, I can see it. I can see for sure this kid, the way he speaks, the way he carries himself about on the ground and all that stuff. Yeah, he'll be a 250, 300 game player, hopefully all for us.
Yep.
So Walshy definitely gives me that feeling of we're going to be okay, I think.
Yeah.
It goes without saying, Wiedering, really starting to kick into gear now, that kid. I doubted him, obviously, as probably a lot did for his second, third and fourth seasons. But But no, he's kicking into gear now. So no, they give me hope. But yeah, Walshy for sure, up and coming. I don't even know if he's 19 or 20 yet, to be completely honest.
I think he's 20 now, but
yeah,
still so young.
Yeah.
And the final one, I'll get everyone to answer this question. I want you to forecast. We're going to look back at this video because we've put a little memory into the internet right now, you and I. So when are we winning our next flag? Which year is it going to be?
I'd like to say with the number of games the boys will have had together by this particular stage, a 2023 for me. Anything before would be handy, and we've seen it can happen out of the blue, like with the doggies. But a 2023, I feel they'll really have strung a couple of solid years together, a couple of making finals, failing in finals type years beforehand, and then 2023, I feel is going to be that mark to reach for.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, mate, I've really enjoyed this. This has been an early start, but it's pepped me up. I love the passion that you show, and it really resonates. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in the flesh once we're all at games again. There's quite a few beers to be had amongst us all, I think.
Absolutely. Really appreciate you having me on, Terry, and go Blues.
That's it, mate. Go the Blues.